Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive. This time we're looking into something pretty personal, intimacy in Christian marriages.
Ooh, that's a good one.
We've got some interesting articles with advice and tips, and even some online forum discussions we'll take a look at.
Oh, those are always fun.
Right. Should be interesting to see what other couples are saying.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're going to try to uncover some practical ways to, boost intimacy
Okay.
while staying true to the faith, of course.
Of course.
So you ready to dive into this sometimes awkward
Yeah,
aspect of marriage?
absolutely. It's something that so many couples struggle with.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting how
hmm
even just bringing up the topic of sex can feel kind of taboo in Christian circles.
Yeah, you're right. It's like the elephant in the room.
Right. Like, why is that? Why is intimacy so important in a Christian marriage anyway?
I think it goes back to the very beginning.
Okay.
In Genesis, when God says, be fruitful and multiply,
Right.
that first instruction that he gives, it kind of highlights how important physical intimacy is.
Okay.
It's not just about having kids, it's
Yeah.
a fundamental part of the marriage covenant.
So it's more than just biology.
Exactly.
And
It's something God clearly values.
I like that. It's about something deeper.
Mm-hmm.
But so many couples kind of experience those bedroom blues
Oh, yeah.
where, intimacy becomes routine or it just gets put on the back burner with everything else going on in life.
It's true. Life gets so busy.
Yeah.
Work, the kids, all of that.
Totally. And then it starts to feel more like an obligation than something you actually want to do.
Exactly. And one article even called it resignation.
Resignation.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it can be really dangerous because it can lead to couples drifting apart.
Makes sense. When you're not connecting in that way,
Mm-hmm.
you start to lose that closeness.
Right. And sometimes
Yeah.
people even start seeking that fulfillment in other places.
That can lead to some serious issues.
Absolutely.
So how do we prevent that?
Communication. We got to talk about it.
But it's not like you learn about this in Sunday school.
Haha. No, not really.
Right.
It's true. It's often just not discussed.
It's like we're comfortable talking about everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Finances, schedules, what we're having for dinner.
Yeah.
But when it comes to sex,
Yeah.
everyone gets quiet.
It's like we forget how to talk.
Right. So one of the articles had this funny line.
Okay.
It said, we should be as comfortable talking about our sex lives as we are talking about our grocery lists.
Uh-huh. I love that.
Right. Maybe not the grocery list,
Okay, maybe not that far.
but you get the idea.
Yeah. You got to make those conversations normal.
Normalize it.
Exactly.
But how do you even begin?
Oh, it doesn't have to be some big dramatic conversation.
Okay.
Start small. It can make a world of difference.
So baby steps.
Yeah, just baby steps.
What does that look like?
Maybe tell your partner something you enjoy
Okay.
or something you'd like to try.
That feels more approachable.
Right. It's
Right.
all about creating a safe space for honesty.
So building that foundation of trust
Exactly.
before you jump into the deep end.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
So you need that foundation.
You do?
And then you can start being more intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the articles suggested actually scheduling sex.
Did they really?
Yeah. What do you think about that?
Scheduling sex. It sounds a little unromantic.
I know, right? Like setting a reminder to take out the trash or something.
Exactly.
But they said it could actually help.
Really?
Yeah, because it increases intimacy
Hmm.
because you're doing it more consistently.
Okay.
And it allows for anticipation.
Interesting.
So you're not just waiting for the perfect moment,
I can see that.
which might never come.
Right. That makes sense.
You're being proactive.
Yeah, I like that.
So it becomes something you're looking forward to
That's a good point.
instead of it feeling like a chore.
Okay. I'm starting to come around to this scheduling thing.
Right.
It's all about the mindset.
It is. But sometimes you need more than just intentions.
Yeah.
How do you actually spice things up?
Ooh, that's the fun part. Our sources actually have some really great ideas
Okay.
for introducing some novelty and excitement.
Okay, good.
And don't worry, it doesn't have to be anything too crazy.
Okay, good. Because
It's little things.
I was a little worried there for a second.
Uh-huh. No.
All right, so what are they?
Well, one of the simplest ones is just try something new.
In the bedroom.
Yeah, in the bedroom.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be anything drastic.
Okay.
Just something to break out of the routine.
Okay.
Something as simple as a new lubricant or massage oil can make a difference.
So those small, thoughtful touches
Mm.
can make a big difference.
Absolutely. It can really reignite that spark.
But I think sometimes it goes beyond just the physical stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Like, intimacy isn't just what happens in the bedroom.
It's about the connection you have throughout the day.
Exactly. How do you
Yeah.
keep that going when you're not, being physically intimate?
Well, one of the articles had this really fun suggestion. They said to create a secret code word.
A code word.
Yeah, for intimate moments.
Hmm.
And you can use it anywhere, even in
Yeah.
front of other people.
I kind of like that.
Right. It's playful.
Yeah, it's like your own little secret.
Exactly.
And it can build anticipation throughout the day.
Yeah, you're thinking about it all day.
That's fun.
And it doesn't even have to be a word. It could be a look or a touch.
Oh,
Just little things that remind you of that special bond.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it comes to those more intimate moments,
Yeah.
the articles also talked about visual stimulation,
Oh, yeah, that's important.
like lingerie or mood lighting.
Yeah, anything that you and your partner find appealing.
So setting the mood,
Exactly. Make it inviting and exciting.
but obviously keeping it within, Christian boundaries.
Of course. It should always be something you're both comfortable with.
Yeah, you got to respect each other's comfort levels.
That's so important.
And remember, intimacy is supposed to be enjoyable, not something to feel ashamed of.
Absolutely not.
God created us to enjoy that part of marriage.
Right. It's a gift.
So important to remember that.
It is.
We've only just started talking about this.
I know, right?
So much more to unpack.
So much more.
But before we get into all that,
Okay.
there was this one thing in one of our sources.
Oh, yeah.
It was about a couple who were considering visiting a swingers club.
A swingers club.
Yeah, but just to observe.
Wow. Okay.
And it really started a debate in this online forum.
I bet it did.
It was pretty interesting to see all the different reactions.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, some people were like, absolutely not,
Yeah, I can see that.
while others were suggesting other ways to spice things up.
Right. But within a Christian marriage.
Yeah, and that's the tricky part.
It is. It's finding that balance.
Yeah, between wanting to try new things,
Mm-mm.
but also staying true to your faith.
And your value.
Exactly. We talked about communication,
We did.
but how do you actually bring up these topics?
That's the hard part, right?
Yeah, without it getting all awkward.
Right. Or like turning into a fight.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
What's the best way to approach it?
Well, one of the sources suggested something interesting.
Okay.
Try to talk about your intimate life as casually as you would talk about your weekend plans.
As casually as talking about weekend plans?
Yeah. Like, hey, you want to try this new restaurant?
I don't know about that.
I know it sounds weird.
It does.
A little bit.
But the point is to not make it this big forbidden topic,
Okay.
to normalize it.
So just another part of your regular conversations.
Right. And you don't have to start with some big, intense talk.
Okay.
Just little things.
Like what?
Maybe tell your partner something you enjoy
Okay.
or something you'd be curious to try.
That feels less intimidating.
Right. It's about being open with each other.
But what if you and your partner have different ideas about what spicing things up means?
That happens a lot.
Right. Like, what if one person's up for trying something new and the other is not so sure? Well, that's where listening comes in. Really listening without judgment.
So not trying to convince them to see your side,
No, it's about understanding where they're coming from.
even if you don't agree.
Exactly. You're on the same team, remember?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not a competition.
And sometimes a little guidance can help.
Okay, like what?
Well, one of the sources talked about love languages.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of those.
They said it can really help in the bedroom, too.
How so?
Well, understanding your partner's love language.
Like words of affirmation, acts of service, gifts, physical touch, quality time?
You got it.
Okay.
Can bring a whole new dimension to your intimacy.
So it's not just about the physical act itself.
It's about making your partner feel loved and understood.
So like if their love language is physical touch,
Yeah,
then just holding hands or cuddling can be really meaningful,
exactly. It's those small things that show you care.
even outside the bedroom.
Right. And when you incorporate that into your intimate moments,
Okay.
it creates a deeper connection.
I can see that, like speaking their love language in a more passionate way.
Exactly. Like if your partner loves words of affirmation,
Mm-hmm.
imagine whispering those words during a moment of passion.
Ooh, that would be intense.
Right. It shows you really know them.
Yeah, I like that.
It's about being intentional.
And we talked before about intimacy as a form of worship.
Yes. Such an important concept.
How does that play into all of this?
Well, it reminds us that intimacy in marriage isn't just about physical pleasure.
Right.
It's about connecting with your spouse on a spiritual level.
So it's deeper than just the physical act.
It is. It's about recognizing the sacredness of that bond.
It's about honoring God through your relationship.
Exactly. And when you approach it with that mindset,
Yeah.
it can really transform your experience.
It becomes more than just seeking pleasure.
Right. It's about celebrating the gift of your bodies.
And expressing love and gratitude.
Absolutely. And that brings a whole new level of joy and fulfillment.
I can imagine. It's not about performance anymore.
Exactly. It's about connection and reverence.
This has been really eye-opening. I'm starting to see intimacy in a whole new light.
Me too. It's amazing how much there is to learn.
But before we wrap up, I want to talk about those potential pitfalls we mentioned.
Okay, good idea.
What are some signs that a couple might be struggling with intimacy?
Or one of the articles talked about resignation.
Resignation.
Yeah, it's when intimacy starts to feel like a chore.
Like the spark's gone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You might notice a lack of enthusiasm.
Or effort.
Right. It just feels routine.
And it's not just about how often you're intimate.
No, it's the overall energy.
Yeah, the connection.
And it can start to affect other parts of the relationship, too.
Oh, how so?
You might see more arguments.
Okay.
Or emotional distance.
So it's like a domino effect.
Exactly. One area starts to suffer, and then it spreads.
And that's why it's so important to address it early on.
You got to catch it before it gets too bad.
But how do you know if it's just a normal ebb and flow in the relationship? Or a sign that something's really wrong?
That's a good question. It's about being honest with yourself.
And with your partner.
Right. Notice if there are any recurring patterns of disengagement.
Like if you're constantly feeling unhappy or unfulfilled.
Exactly. If something feels off, it probably is.
So don't ignore those feelings.
No, talk about it.
Create that safe space for communication.
And sometimes you might even need to seek outside help.
Like a counselor or a pastor.
Yeah, they can offer guidance and support.
It's not a sign of weakness to ask for help.
It's a sign of strength.
It shows you're committed to making things work.
Exactly. And remember, it's not just about fixing what's broken.
Okay.
It's also about celebrating what's good.
Focusing on the positives.
Yeah, and finding ways to enhance those parts of your relationship.
So it's a two-way street.
It is. You got to work on it together.
And approach it with intentionality and gratitude.
And don't forget playfulness.
Right. Like that secret code word.
Exactly. Have fun with it.
It's about finding those little ways to keep things exciting.
And to remind each other why you fell in love in the first place.
This has been such a great conversation. I feel like I have a much better understanding of how to cultivate intimacy in a Christian marriage.
Me too. It's been a real journey.
And we've only scratched the surface.
There's so much more to explore.
Welcome back to our deep dive. We've talked about a lot of different things when it comes to intimacy in Christian marriages.
We have.
But for couples who really want to strengthen that part of their relationship, what do you think is like the most important thing they should take away from all this?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I'd have to say it's that idea of approaching intimacy as an act of worship.
Yeah, we talked about that a bit earlier.
We did.
And it really stuck with me.
Me too. It's so powerful.
Because it's not just about the physical act itself.
Right.
It's about remembering that connection,
Mm-hmm.
that sacredness in a Christian marriage.
Exactly. It's about connecting with your spouse on a spiritual level.
Yeah, and celebrating that gift of your bodies and that union.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is, and it kind of shifts your perspective.
It does.
From, just performance to really connecting.
Right.
And from just seeking pleasure
Mm-hmm.
to experiencing something deeper.
Yeah, something more meaningful.
Something that reflects Christ's love.
Beautifully said.
And when you look at it that way,
Yeah.
it changes the whole experience.
It really does.
It's not about checking things off a list anymore.
It's not. It becomes more about nurturing something precious.
Something sacred.
Exactly.
And I think that takes the pressure off, too.
Oh, absolutely.
You can approach it with more joy and gratitude and reverence.
The whole new level of intimacy.
Yeah, it really is. But I imagine for some people, putting all of this into practice can feel a little overwhelming.
Oh, for sure. It's a lot to take in.
So where do you even begin?
Well, you don't have to do everything at once.
Okay.
Just pick one or two things.
With all the tips we've talked about.
Yeah, the ones that resonated with you,
Okay.
and start there.
So don't try to change everything overnight.
No, baby steps.
Baby steps.
Just like we talked about before.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe it's scheduling a date night
Mm-hmm.
or trying that secret code word.
Ooh, yeah, that's a fun one.
Right. Or just being more affectionate in general.
It's all about those little things.
Those small changes can make a big difference.
Absolutely. They can really build momentum.
It's like a ripple effect.
Exactly.
And it can lead to a stronger connection.
And a more fulfilling relationship.
But it's important to remember,
Mm-hmm.
it's a journey,
It is.
not a destination.
You're going to have ups and downs.
Yeah, that's just part of it.
But as long as you have love and respect,
And you communicate, you'll get there.
you will. You're a team.
Yeah, you're in it together.
And remember, it's not about being perfect.
It's about growing together.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so beautiful.
Yeah, it really is. It's this ongoing journey of discovery.
To the dance.
A dance of passion and reverence.
Yes.
And ultimately a reflection of God's love.
I love that.
Oh, this has been an amazing conversation.
It really has.
I feel like I've learned so much about what it means to cultivate intimacy in a Christian marriage.
Me too. It's been a pleasure exploring this with you.
And for our listeners,
Yeah.
thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
We hope you found it helpful.
And we hope you can take these insights and use them to enrich your own relationships.
Because intimacy is a gift.
It is.
And it deserves to be cherished.
Especially within a marriage.
Yeah.
So as you go about your week, think about this.
Yeah.
What's one small step you can take today to enhance the intimacy in your own marriage?
That's a good question to think about.
It doesn't have to be anything big.
No, just a small gesture.
A moment of connection.
Yeah, or just a little spark of playfulness.
Because remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
So true.
And with that, we wish you all the love.
Yeah.
The joy.
And the intimacy.
That your hearts desire.